All right, there are certain very disturbing, troubling developments. If I were to say today that the world is flat, now you'll probably laugh at me like I'm some lunatic or something, and surely the members of the press would not even bother to, give me any airtime or anything like that. But strangely though, when it comes to politics, sometimes people say things that is akin to that, and yet the press runs away with it, especially things that has to do with criticizing Dr. Chi. Of course, I'm talking about the problem raised by Mrs. Chams during the last by-election, and it is a non-issue at all as far as the election is concerned, but yet the newspaper, the medias give so much space to it and distract the real issues from what should have been during the election. And we feel that such shenanigans have to stop. And although it affects the SDP, but the person that is usually at the blunt ends of things is Dr. Chi. And so I'll let him relate the facts to you, and we hope to lay this down once and for all.
Well, thank you, John. Thanks everybody for being present at this press conference. As John mentioned, this press conference was called to essentially just set the record straight about the saga between Mr. Cham Si-tong and SDP. It happened more than 20 years ago, but sadly the issue has not gone away, primarily because the PAP and the Chams continue to resurrect this matter right up until the recently concluded by-election. Now, this matter has been going on for too long, and it has affected the SDP. It has affected me all through these years. But I want to make it very clear that we're not looking in the past, right? We're not looking at things that happened before, including this by-election. What we want to do is to make sure that in future elections, that this matter is not used again to against the SDP, and to make sure that, as I said, we want to set the record straight and once and for all put to rest this falsehood, this lie that I had ousted Mr. Cham Si-tong and usurped his position. Okay, and I'm going to do this by going through the very brief timeline from even before the resignation of Mr. Cham, his departure from the SDP, and bring you up to date and show you, right, unequivocally that the SDP had not, in particular myself, had not ousted Mr. Cham and usurped his position. So if you want to just take a copy of this and then just pass it around, if you want to. Now I want to take you back to, as I said, before Mr. Cham's departure from the SDP, and back to 1998. All right, and you see that timeline there. Okay, and I want to emphasize that these events were taken from court documents, in particular the written judgment of High Court Judge Mr. Warren Koo. Okay, now as far back as 1988, Mr. Cham Si-tong, while he was on the stand in court, said to me, right, to him, right, the problem started in 1988 when Wong Hong Toi and about 15 other Workers' Party members joined the SDP. And there was a lot of backbiting and other problems, he said. This was 1988. I joined the SDP and stood for the by-election in Marine Parade only in 1992. In May 1993, Mr. Cham resigned as the SDP Secretary General when the CEC did not support him over the issue of My Hunger Strike. And Mr. Cham then decided to tender his resignation there and then. And even then, the SDP, myself included, persuaded him to stay. Then in June 1993, the CEC announced Mr. Cham's resignation. Now, I just want you also to note the timeline. Mr. Cham resigned in May 1993, and his resignation was announced only 1 month later. Why? Because during that period of a month, we approached him several times to ask him to withdraw his resignation and stay in the party and continue on as the Secretary General. Of course, Mr. Cham refused, and then we had to announce his resignation. And then in July 1993, Mr. Cham then was invited to and spoke at the Singapore Press Club, during which he ran down the SDP's leadership. And the CEC members, not just performance, but personalities, character, and so on and so forth. Now, this, as I said, despite him, after signing an oath and a deed, where he insisted that the rest of the CEC members signed this oath and deed to make clear that anyone, including the leadership, should not criticize and, in his words, wash your dirty linen in public. Okay, and I just want to refer you to some of the handouts that you have in your packet there. Of course, the first one is Mr. Cham's resignation letter. Okay, and you can see very clearly, right, that he had resigned as Secretary General of the SDP. No one forced him out. It was only after his speaking at the Singapore Press Club, the SPC, and his running down on the leadership of the SDP, that the CEC convened a disciplinary hearing to basically to ask Mr. Cham why he did what he did, and to let him know that there were disciplinary issues, that he was not above party rules and regulations, especially in light of the fact that he has signed this oath and deed and made the rest of the party leadership sign them as well. Now, based on that disciplinary hearing, Mr. Cham came in and continued his attacks on the SDP and the leadership. And whereupon then, after hours of deliberation at that disciplinary hearing itself, the CEC took a vote and the majority decided to expel him from the party. Even then, and I just want to point this out, even then, the SDP made it very clear that we wanted to continue our reconciliation efforts with Mr. Cham. And so, even after we made that decision to expel him, we approached Mr. Cham and to see whether we could effect any reconciliation at all. We were rebuffed. And then after that, we held off this announcement of his expulsion for another 2 weeks, because we just wanted to see whether we could avoid this situation in whatever way we could. So I just want to make it very clear, right, that all this talk about us, and especially me, ousting Mr. Chiam and usurping his position, clearly has no basis. Clearly has no basis. Because if we wanted to do that, we wouldn't put in so much effort, waited 1 month to announce his resignation first as Secretary General, and then, held off the announcement of his expulsion for another 2 weeks. It just doesn't add up if the PAP wants to say, Mrs. Chiam wants to say that I had ousted him and usurped his position. All right? And this is what I think is, in fact, the most important matter that I want to highlight. In August that year, after he was expelled, Mr. Chiam then sued the SDP. And in his case, in his pleadings, Mr. Chiam had said that the SDP had sacked him in bad faith and there was malice in the expulsion. And I just want to make sure that this is highlighted and the focus remains here. Okay? And this is available, we will make it available on our website, and it is available, and I think in the Singapore Law Reports. The court ruled that there was no bad faith or malice in the SDP's actions. In fact, I'm just going to read out Mr. Justice Warren Khoo's written judgment. It's in your packet there as well. Justice Warren Khoo said, quote, "There were allegations in the pleadings of bad faith and of the defendants, SDP, acting maliciously in order to injure the plaintiff, Chiam See Tong. I do not think that there is very much in these suggestions, having regard to the fact that the CEC, even when they had decided to expel him, were making efforts to seek a reconciliation with him. It may be fairly said that he, Chiam See Tong, brought the disciplinary proceedings and the court action on himself." Unquote. Now, this is what Justice Warren Khoo said in his judgment, and that was in December 1993. Now, all these events, I want to point out to viewers, to you, that they're all taken from the court document that was written by Justice Warren Khoo. Now, that despite everything that's happened, in September 1994, remember, all this I just described earlier happened in 1993. In 1994, the SDP had organized an official trip to Australia. At that time, Mr. Chiam was still in the SDP, although he was no longer the Secretary General because he had resigned. At that time, before we left for the trip, I personally called Mr. Chiam up to ask him to come along to Australia with us, with the two MPs, because we had meetings with the Australian MPs and Speaker and visited the Australian Parliament. I had asked Mr. Chiam to come with us, hoping that at that time we could still effect some kind of reconciliation. Mr. Chiam turned it down and said because he had to attend some interparliamentary organization meeting or something of that sort. In 1997, when general elections were called in December, Mr. Chiam then left the SDP, and at that time the Singapore People's Party had already been formed, and then he joined the SPP. Right. So, in short, very briefly, that was the timeline of the events that led to the departure of Mr. Chiam from the SDP. Right. I want to emphasize this, if I have not done it enough already. There is absolutely no truth to the fact that to this assertion that I had ousted Mr. Chiam and that I usurped his position. And it's irrefutable from what I've just described, because these were taken from court documents, meaning there was no dispute by all parties. Right? to this matter here. After the general elections in 1997, in January 1998, and I refer you to the Straits Times report that you'll find in your packet as well. It was published on 12th of January 1998. And its headline, PM sets 5 goals for PAP to win GE 2002. PM then was Mr. Goh Chok Tong. Mr. Goh had said in that report, said Mr. Chiam was no threat, but had in fact been good for the PAP, as without him, it would have been more difficult to destroy SDP chief Chee Soon Juan. This must go out. This must be told to the public that this was the intention of the PAP, to destroy me using the Chiam See Tong situation. Even up until today, in the recent by-election, the situation was still used to attack me, to attack the SDP, saying that somehow or other we had betrayed Mr. Chiam. No. That is absolutely not true. And hence, this press conference invited the press here to make sure that the public is informed of the truth. Because for too long, we've held back on this matter. Why? Because during elections, we didn't want it to be an issue that would distract voters. And also that we really didn't want to let the PAP use this issue to divide the opposition, in particular, Mr. Chiam and the SDP. I've said so in the past, that despite the attacks, we've held off and not wanted to use this matter to add fuel to this whole thing, and that in so doing, let the PAP divide us even more. I take you back to that instance whereby Mr. Chiam spoke at the Singapore Press Holdings in July 1993. Following that event, the Singapore Press Club actually invited me to speak to respond to Mr. Chiam. I declined that invitation. Well, I beg your pardon. I did not decline the invitation, but I indicated that I would not speak on the Chiam affair, but that I would talk about the SDP's alternative ideas for Singapore. And this was back in 1993. The invitation to me, that was then very quickly rescinded, withdrawn. Okay? I had that opportunity to go back and hit Mr. Chiam and hit back, but I didn't. The reason was I just did not want to continue to let this matter continue to let the PAP use it to divide the opposition. And on down the line, subsequently through the years as well. I have been under numerous attacks and very intensely. Each time I've held back because I did not want to let the PAP divide us some more. But it's continued. It is can continue until this by-election, and at some point, the truth must be told. And I feel that I owe it to voters, owe it to the public, owe it to our supporters, to make sure that we tell the truth and that this matter is no longer used against the SDP, myself, in future elections. If you have any questions, I'd be more than happy to take them now.
Actually, I just want to ask, it's not the only time that the SDP or yourself had clarified this issue. So I'm just wondering, what difference do you think this time would make to this matter?
What we've done was in the past make sure that something like that has been is But as you can see in past instances, one of them was during the launching of the book Teacher, Thinker, Rebel, Why. The media, our mainstream media, did not pick it up, did not want to report it. And a lot of people still don't know. Your readers still don't know. The public still doesn't know the real situation in this matter. So again, this is important going out, and we've never really used social media to make sure that this such information is transmitted widely, right? But all this must change, and it changes now.
Can I add to what was just said? The same question could have been asked of the media too. When Mrs. Cham made that little statement about Mr. Cham not endorsing the SDP or Dr. Chi during the recent by-election, just one little statement, but yet the media went to town with that. What additional, it's nothing new, so what additional value will it offers your readers? But yet the media would allocate so much space to that, and of course subsequently it got blown up as the polling day gets closer too. So we always get that side of the story, but the SDP story, Dr. Chi's story, never got an inch of column in the papers.
Now, I just want to emphasize this, if I haven't done enough already, just to make sure that it's absolutely clear that, what's happened in the past is something which we have, nothing can be done, right? It's water under the bridge. But we want to make sure that as we go forward, that this issue is put to rest once and for all. And if the PAP wants to resurrect it, we want members of the public to know, and that they should be refuted, they should be counted, and their lies should be called out if they're going to use this issue to attack the SDP, attack me again.
Have you personally reached out to Mrs. Cham or Mr. Cham?
Many times.
Few years?
Many times, yes. In fact, again, during the just as recently as the by-election, we did approach Mrs. Cham and Mr. Cham, of course.
Who did, or can we put more details on
the SDP, we approached Mr. Cham. Again, with the objective of saying, look, we don't want to let the PAP continue to divide, right? Especially in a situation whereby this matter is so clear, so irrefutable, that it was not the SDP, it was not me that wanted to get Mr. Cham out of the SDP.
Was it before or after the newsletter incident?
I cannot remember. I think it was before, right? I think it was before.
So it was communicated or corresponded via letter correspondence?
But that was just not the instance. I know what you're trying to get at. But before this incident, the last situation was when we had our 35th anniversary. We had also asked Mr. Cham, that to attend the 35th anniversary, given that he was the founding Secretary General, and we just wanted to honor him. He declined that as well. And there were also other instances where we had either invited him to our events and had expressed on numerous occasions that we wished him well, right? That we had moved on from the issue, and that we don't want to continue with this matter, and to bury the hatchet, if you will. So that's not the only occasion, but on other occasions as well.
So in the most recent occasion, it was communicated to Mr. Chiam to Mrs. Chiam to bury the hatchet? Or?
No. We wanted to see whether he would at least come back and not have that, that feud any longer. Right? Not have the feud any longer.
Which means not to attack you.
No, that was not the intent. Just to make sure that we didn't have this then continue on.
Which means to hope to get the understanding of not
to at least have some kind of unity, because every time the opposition, no matter it's between whom, right, you get this problem of people thinking that somehow or other the opposition was having all these problems all the time. We just wanted to make sure that was not the case anymore.
What's the response from them?
Well, let me answer that one because it was actually me who called.
So it was a phone call.
Mrs. Lina Cham. So I called her on the phone, and of course suggested that we meet, and she declined. Okay. And of course she asked what's the purpose of that meeting. Among other things, I told her that we would like to suggest this reconciliation again, and we wanted to invite Cham back as to honor him as the founder, because rightfully he is the founder of SDP. He was the one who started it, and we want to honor him for that. And well, it was declined, and she said she had to travel, and that was pretty much it.
So to invite Mr. Cham back to honor him in what sense?
Yeah,
invite him back to the party, or?
Yeah, to recognize him as a founder.
So it's just a ceremonial.
Well,
it was the same. It was the same message that we had put out during our anniversary dinner in 2015.
She declined. Sorry, Dr. Shi, but given how things have been playing out, as you call it, media bias. PAP plays it in future elections. I suppose it will still come back again and resurrect. In other words, how would SDP or yourself be tackling this?
Well, the one thing that we have been whether we're going to do is use social media, which hitherto we have not used in a very concerted way to get this the facts out, right? And we will be doing that over the course of the next couple of days. And
would this be misconstrued as an attack on?
No.
Mr. Cham?
We've been on the receiving end of a lot of untruths, a lot of falsehoods. We want to make sure that this time we put the facts out. And as I said, this is not something that we've made up. You can hardly call it anything other than making sure that the truth gets out, because, as I said, we're depending primarily on the court document that was published in 1993. So I just want to make it very clear, right, that this is it's been a long time coming. In fact, it's just the only problem I see it is that it's taken too long for us to do this, right? But it has to stop. This by-election was, if you can call it, the last straw, right, that broke the camel's back. And we have to put this out in a concerted manner on social media, and to let everybody know in no uncertain terms that it is a falsehood, right, that I had ousted Mr. Cham. Right, and for more than 20 years, 2 decades, the PAP has used it against me, against us, And I cannot be any clearer than to quote Mr. Goh Chok Tong, right? That he had, without Mr. Chiam, it would have been more difficult to have destroyed me. And this is the crux of the matter that I just want to put out to the public and to inform them and to let them know that I had not, as Mr. Chiam had alleged, done anything to usurp his position, to oust him. So this is something which I want to make very clear to one and all.
So how would you be using the social media over the next few days to...
Well, and you see it as we come, these are things that we'll put out. I don't want to preempt some of this stuff here, but I just want to make sure that it gets the widest dissemination, and we're hoping that our media will do the right thing and just and put out this message as we have laid it out today.